93.5 CHMR-FM.
Good evening and welcome to Rustling Pages. I'm Chris Russell.
And I'm Max Page. Thanks for tuning in tonight on CHMR 93.5.
Yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. This is going to be our last show of the semester, and we're talking to a couple of guys. We're going to talk to Brendon Dixon.
Hello, Max and Chris, and
yeah.
hello, Radio.
And then we're going to be talking to Brandon King. As well.
The elusive Brandon King.
Yeah, we've been trying to have him on for weeks and weeks. So can you open up that little bit of information for me there, Max? All right. So first up, we got Brendon Dixon. He's a classic Maritimer. Spent time in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. He came to MUN for a girl. He stayed for the affordable education. He's now pursuing poli-sci in history. Second year living in Curtis. He's the youngest guest we've had on the show as of yet. He's been a residence rep since the by-election on MUNSU in November. He's director at large coming up next year. He's been involved in youth parliament, been involved in political campaigns. So, Brendon, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks, Max, for having me here. It's nice to actually talk to radio and person to person. I'm actually so used to talking to them like in a third person sense, so it's nice to have a...
One of these mics is buzzing. I can tell what one it is, or I can't tell what one it is. We're having a... Well, it might be yours. One sec. Sorry.
Here?
I can hear it in my headphone. We've got technical difficulties.
So turn one off.
Okay, it's Brendon's mic. So, Brendon, this is your mic now, and me and Max are sharing a mic.
Hello, Radioland, and we're back.
All right.
Is it good?
Yeah.
All right, cool. This
Nice.
is awful.
So,
I'm going to have to let Bob know about that one.
one of them, I guess the main reason why we're having Brendon on the show tonight is because Brendon is fulfilling another role next year on the MUNSU board. He's going to be one of the directors at large, taking on the highly regarded role as director at large. So, Brendon, could you explain to us how you got started with MUNSU, the MUN Student Union?
Oh my. Well, it's actually a funny story then, Max. A good question. Glad you asked. So, it actually started, unfortunately, last year when I was with my residents. We got put off campus due to a really bad contract with the university through housing, in terms of upgrading our residents. And what happened was actually that we're so far off campus. We had a really bad experience with trying to meet people and stuff, and when we came back on campus, there was no actual help, and we didn't even see an inch of our student union. So, come general election time, I actually spoke out, angry and frustrated with the reception I had coming to university, and I was only met by, well, why didn't you run? Why didn't you run? And not having actually seen any actual advertisements, I went into the first opportunity that I could. And the second I saw the first opportunity that I could possibly enter into an election, which was the by-election in November, I ran. And that's actually how I got involved with MUNSU.
And so, yeah, Brendon ran and was elected as the residence rep for the union, and has been articulating. He's been very vocal this whole time over the last 6 months, and people definitely feel your presence at these board meetings. And not only does he go to the board meetings, committee meetings, but he is very active with the union, clocking in his hours and doing a lot of work.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that's how I met Brendon, was when he first got elected as res rep. Max introduced me to him, and he's definitely made clear his commitment to bettering the lives of students through student government and the union. I don't know. So,
Some negativity in that voice, Chris.
So Brendon, I don't know. I'm just fucking
Putting on your watch and not paying attention.
So Brendon, why is it that what is it that you like? I don't know, that you love about this, I guess. What is it that keeps you going in this sphere of student activity?
My. Well, I think, especially with one of our biggest critics, I think one of our most vocal critics is actually the Muse. And it's nice to have a nice, big, critical, vocal opposition. And the Muse, I find, is our vocal opposition. And in the face of that, if you respond only to that and you're stuck in that little world, you see a lot of cynicism. So I think the only thing that keeps me going in the face of cynicism is, unfortunately, optimism. And I think optimism has been the main driving force, the fact that we can actually make a better union that actually serves and actually goes back to its main thing, where it serves and it represents the student body as a whole. Like, that is the main driving force for me personally.
Good, and it's almost boundless. You can go wherever you want to go with that. What changes do you believe you've helped influence since you've been on the board? What changes have you been involved in, and what changes have you taken on as something that's been really significant and priority as your time on the board?
Well, I think where I really show an actual kind of change was during the bylaw review, which you did sit on, Max, and it was fun sitting in with you on that board meeting. And I mean, it would be actually, should we take a side for a second? It will actually, your presence will actually be very well missed on the board, and
thanks, man.
It will be very different than really that spot that's kind of vacant.
Who will ever fill this role?
Yeah, who will? Someone has to, right? In terms of changes that I've been able to make was more of a strict change on how we organize ourselves as a union and how we go about our meetings. You can find we call it the suspensory powers in our bylaws, section 2, subsection B, I think. If you want to take a look at that, if anyone wants to go through the headache of actually reading the bylaws in our constitution, it's a nice little document. But I actually did change from, it was actually a really bad cop-out. It was like, members should do their best at achieving said and said goal, and I actually changed it to they have to do this. So like the wording is they must do this, which is a huge change. It means like if they're going to pursue something, not only do they have to do it, there's no leeway in between, which is what I was achieving, and it was very well achieved, and that's good.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that wording doesn't leave anything open to interpretation.
And that's exactly what it's supposed to do.
And I like what you said about the Muse too. I think it is really good to have that opposition there. And
someone has to be, right?
Yeah, and I think that the Muse, no matter what MUNSU's sort of general policies were, the Muse would be the opposite. If MUNSU was against education is a right, the Muse would be for it.
Can I speak on that?
Authors of the Muse.
I'm actually not affiliated with the Muse, and I know you guys are coming into next year, but fine, whatever, go ahead. But the Muse, to me, I don't think it's an agenda they set. And I think that's something important that students should recognize, is that they're not meant to be cynical. They see problems that they find are very evident in our culture as a university, and they speak out on it. And that's good. We should have that. I don't think, I think I see a lot of comments online sometimes saying, like, they have a right-wing agenda, and I don't think that's fair to them as a service in our university. So, in their defense, as a board member on MUNSU, even come back as a larger position next year, even moving on up. The old was it Jeffersons? Anyways, as a board member moving on up in the ranks, and who's so invested in this institution that I believe so heavily in, and you can't deter me. I believe that having this is good, and they're not a agenda-setting organization.
And just to speak to that for a second, I mean, the Muse is composed of a lot of different writers, and no one writer is the Muse. So people like Robert Lehman write for the Muse, who are very
but one person paints it for everyone, right? That's
sometimes, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Particularly sometimes in the editorials.
It takes one bad person.
The editorials, and I mean, I guess the stories that they chase in general. Some of the people, I get where you're coming from. I think the Muse is great. I think most of the little exposés and the way that they talk about most of the things they talk about is pretty on point.
Or the people of the MUSE. The MUSE is not one whole.
Most of the things spoken about in the MUSE by different people.
I just say that because on MUNSU, right? I don't like when people say like MUNSU thinks this and MUNSU thinks that.
That's true, right?
And every single member is an aspect of that union voice, and every single board member more particularly.
Max, I think as a former board member, you can admit that there is.
Brendon, we got to get you to back away from the mic a little bit, just because you're being a little loud.
Yeah. I think Max, as someone who has been on the board before, you can admit that there is actual opposition to every thing we put forth.
Absolutely, and people need to. Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna ask you, Brendon, two different ways. Kind of what would you have told old Brendon Dixon back in the past, and how have you learned from your experiences with MUNSU?
Yeah. And let's not forget too close to the mic. You got me all excited.
That's okay. It happens a lot.
Every time I talk about MUNSU, it's so exciting.
We do the same thing.
We're an exciting group of guys.
Yeah. In terms of old Brendon, not to get cynical, because old Brendon used to be very cynical about what he did, and now that I've grown into the person I've become, it's just optimism. There's change incoming. There's a horizon. As that old Batman quote goes, Harvey Dent, God help him. It was the dawn. It is darkest before the dawn, and once the dawn comes up, everything's bright and happy. We can all dance hand in hand in rainbows and sunshine.
Seems really fulfilling to you,
right? Yeah. Well, it's just all about optimism. If I was to put in one word, optimism.
Nice. That's a good. I mean, that's a great way to look at it. That's the best way to look at anything, I guess, is to look at it from the most optimistic standpoint available to you. So what kind of things do you think have been some of the biggest things that you've learned throughout your time on the Students' Union, and maybe what do you think you'd like to continue to learn?
You know what's unfortunate?
I don't.
I actually had kind of like a mentor on this board. I don't know if I'm allowed saying names, but they told me they taught me a very valuable lesson. It was not to be more careful with how I speak. To be careful with how I speak. To not try to just be myself, but try to appeal to others. To care what others think, and I think that's been really important. And it's an unfortunate fact that we have to care what we have to pander so much to what every single board member thinks, because if not, we lose them to I guess what has been often described as a hive mind mentality on this board of directors. And you know what? I can point to various pieces that we've passed that have been like this.
Yeah, and I like how you said you need to appeal to everyone, because I think a lot of people are.
I don't know. Does the mention want to come forward?
Are on the same. No, I'm not. I'm just gonna add to it a little bit.
Okay, so it is Max.
I'm just gonna say, like, when you say that, it's because a lot of times, like, people like myself and Brendon found each other not necessarily like outright and explicitly. It's almost like radio one. Can I post quickly? Max actually pitted someone against me in my very first race without even knowing me, and only after did I win did he actually, like, we talked, and it was kind of like, oh, you put someone against me. Kind of fun fact. Nobody puts anybody against anybody on MUNSU, Brendon. That's so crazy.
That sounds like slating, which is definitely not allowed.
And appealing to people. Sometimes people have the same impulses and they have the same goals in mind, but it's not until everybody can kind of start getting involved in those goals cooperatively and appealing to everyone. So,
but you know what that takes? Real talk. Communication is actually very essential, and it takes an open line. It talks going out of your way. 'Cause it's a two-way street both ways. If you want to open a line with someone, you have to not only initiate it, but you have to keep it up. You have to maintain a line of communication, and I think that's what we've actually lacked in our union this year, is that line of communication. Because telling someone there's just an event 2 or 3 hours before it actually happens is not okay.
All right, I think that if you're referring to the Joel Plaskett thing,
or the popcorn thing, the popcorn thing that you see today was fairly misrun by the board.
Well, I think the
Heaven
big
forbid the people didn't get their popcorn.
No, heaven forbid. There was one director, or maybe two directors, because there was one director who put a lot of time in.
Well,
because
yeah.
no one else around.
Exactly. And I think what you're talking about, I mean, there's two things. There's communication and communication management, and making sure that there's follow-through with communication, and making sure the communication is two-way. It's one thing to communicate, which is what we're doing right now, and I communicate with myself all day in my own head, and it's fine, but it's communication management, and it's being able to follow through with your communication.
Definitely.
I'm going to ask something a little bit more, broad.
Love that.
Open-ended.
My professors are for, right?
So if, Brendon, if you had an opportunity, we've asked before, if you had the opportunity, if you knew that every single undergrad at this union was listening to you right now, Brendon, what would you say to that person?
Those people.
In terms of what?
Those peoples.
In terms of what?
In terms of your
if you wanted to have one...
Well, I mean, you can relate it to your position as director at large next year. You can just relate it to general optimism, I guess. That's kind of
you said optimistic, but optimism.
Your brand.
Keep rolling, keep rolling with this. Yeah.
Say whatever you want. Everyone at MUN's hearing you right now. Make that assumption.
Okay, fine.
They're all listening for the first time ever.
So what would you ever?
Other than have a good summer break. I would.
That's really nice.
You know what I would say to them though? Seriously, on a serious note, we have a union. It's here for you. Learn more about it. Get involved. Be optimistic, because there's no reason you shouldn't be. Yes, fine. There are bad people in unions sometimes, as there are with any other organization. There's no reason to not, be interested. So be interested. Take the time to get to know what we do for you, and learn how you can take advantage of it. Because there are so many things you can take advantage of as an individual. So why not? Why not? There's a reason to be optimistic. There are reasons to be happy that you are a part of something that's bigger. We have some of the biggest activists who have been a part of our union. So why not be a part of the tradition? You like tradition? Be a part of the tradition. You can be involved. So there's plenty of optimism to go around, and it's rightfully so. I mean, if you're someone who likes services, there are services for you. If you're someone who likes causes, we have causes. Just take the time. Look it up. It's a two-way street, and you are the union. You, the people of MUN, Memorial University, are the union.
All right, awesome. That's great stuff, Brendon. Definitely get involved with your union. There's a lot that they can do for you. Now, Brendon, we've got one more thing. You had a little announcement, and then we've got a fun little thing we're gonna do.
We wish we could keep you on a little bit longer tonight, but we are running out of time. But we do need to get to our inauguration.
Oh my!
The oath of office. So what's your announcement first of all?
Okay, so are you talking about the Facebook thing that I posted a few? For those who have me on Facebook or Twitter, my grandfather, Benton Hickey, is actually running for a city council position in Bathurst, New Brunswick. And actually, he just confirmed it with me that he is actually going to run, and I will be actually managing his campaign.
That is awesome.
This is just another example of like getting involved in your student politics can, further increase your interest in getting something, involved in maybe municipal politics.
And so why should members of this district vote for your grandfather?
I think there's only like 3 or 4 people actually on campus. But why? Because in the face of corruption and other numerous problems, my grandfather is someone who's been with the community and is actually a very nonsense person, and I think that's where I get a lot of that from. And
I think you're full of nonsense.
Full of nonsense.
No, I'm just joshing.
He's someone who will listen, and he loves talking to people. He loves talking more than I love talking.
How?
How exactly?
And
right?
how?
But he will be a very good voice for the people of Bathurst, and I totally believe that.
I like that. So because this is our last show, it is really important that we get Brendon Dixon on to do an appropriate passing of the torch as I am outgoing and he's ingoing.
Yeah, so Max now is gonna he's gonna pass the torch to Brendon. He's going to administer him a little director at large oath of office that we
Chris, what am I swearing on?
that we wrote up. Oh, you're gonna swear when I'll grab the book.
And it'll be more of a so
book? Okay, that's cool.
as everyone out there knows, I am your outgoing, fearless director at large leader, and I will now be
Adam Smith. The wealth Adams. Oh,
I will now be participating with Brendon in the oath of office. So, Brendon, could you please repeat after me? I, Brendon Shipley Dixon, do solemnly swear.
I, Brendon Shipley Dixon, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of Director at Large of the MUNSU Board.
That I will faithfully execute the
office of the Director at Large of the MUNSU Board.
Office of the MUNSU Director at Large.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the very best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution and bylaws of the MUN Students Union.
The Constitution and the bylaws of the MUN Students Union Constitution.
And we wish you the best of luck, Brendon. This has been an honor and a pleasure to have you serving by my side, and I know the union's going to be in good hands, I hope.
Empty space.
So thanks for coming on, and we're going to be going to our break. Brendon Dixon, everyone.
Thanks, Brendon.
Thank you, guys.
They told me that I was lazy, that I'd never amount to anything. Everything was
Good, man. Thanks.
I thought the bit of
I have a learning disability, I have solutions, and people who can help.
The Learning Disabilities Association of Canada is dedicated to helping
Trying to get back.
people with disabilities achieve their true potential in school, in the workplace, and in society. Visit our website at ldac.ca. This message from the Learning Disabilities Association of Canada and this station.
This band played at the Metro. About 800 people were at the show. The jam was terrific. The rock and roll was perfect. The show was whooping a horse's ass. KMFDM, 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 KMFDM.
And we're back. Yes, are we? Yes, we are.
We back.
We are back. So, Max, I guess now I think we're going to do a little shout out, a little thank you to everybody that we've had on the show this semester, kind of reflect a little bit.
No way are we stalling until Brandon King gets here.
Well, I mean, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. We would have had it at the end if Brandon was here now, so that's fine. So I guess we'll start our first show way back in February. We had Max's little baby sister Tess on.
Oh, I remember Tess.
Yeah.
My sister.
How do you remember her?
Yes, there was a lot more to her and I than just a story on a radio, I do say.
Yeah, no, I have also known Tess, and that was a good interview. Our first interview ever.
Our very first interview.
And we had it just sitting there on the we had it recorded, and then the strike ended, and then we put it on the air.
Yeah, and was that the one that we had an impossible time getting to? Or...
Oh, when we had the technical difficulties?
Yeah.
No, that was Poncho and Emma and Crassus.
So speaking of Poncho was another guest.
Yeah, Poncho
that we
is
need
the
to
next
thank.
guest. Thank you, Poncho.
roommate.
Yeah, my former roommate as well. That was a fun interview. He gave us some of his vast classic knowledge of Winter Carnival endeavors.
WC, baby.
And who did we have then? Same night we had Emma and Kratz.
Emma and Kratz.
Winter Carnival coordinators.
2 Winter Carnival coordinators.
Did a great job on the Winter Carnival and on the show.
And as Chris continues to thank these people, I'm going to go let in our next
Okay,
guest.
cool. Do you need my thing, or is he right outside?
I love your thing.
That is the swipe card key that we're talking about.
Thank you.
For yeah. And so the next person on our little list here is Andrew Sampson, a great buddy of ours. Been our friend for years. Jamie Kelly, I'm here. Oh no, Dixon's still there. We had Jamie Kelly next. He did a sweet Olympic recap with us. You can check out our YouTube channel, and you'll see an awesome picture of him and Toronto Mayor Rob Ford at a Blue Jays game. We had Jim Doyle on. We ran into him just randomly one night when we were getting ready for the show. He came on and talked about a debate that had recently happened, so thank you, Jim. We had Anik Raman on the same night, the biggest of the winners in the Director at Large race. Thanks again, Anik. That was a lot of fun. We had another Director at Large, Brendon Dixon, on tonight. Who was next? Warren Gordon and Chelsea Scanes. Thank you, Warren and Chelsea, for coming on the show. I feel like at the root of all of us starting this radio show was Max knowing Warren, and Warren getting Max into the whole experience. So I guess an extra special thank you to them, because we probably wouldn't even be doing the show if they had never done their show. Check out The Party Saturdays at 7 on CHMR. Especially May 10th, our homie Big Mike Mercer is going to be on The Party from the band The Combine. The whole band is, but yeah. Then we had Devin Grant and Robert Lehman on. Big shout out to them. Thank you guys, and good luck starting up on MUNSU there in the next week and a half or so. Hope to have you on over the summer again. I'm just looking at a list here. Jordan Lester, big extra special thanks to Jordan Lester. I couldn't do the show one night. I was extremely busy, and Jordan filled in for me and did the whole hour with Max, and I listened from home in my robe. It was lovely, but also sad not being here, so thank you, Jordan, and stay tuned, Radioland, because Jordan will have a show of his own coming soon to the Rustling Pages family of shows. Week after that, we had another few of the incoming MUNSU exec. We had Kim Drisdell. She's an old friend of ours, so thank you, Kim, incoming Director of Student Life. Sean Kennedy, great interview with him, incoming advocacy. I feel really bad that Max is just going to be gone for the entire reading of this list, but that's okay. Ryan Murphy, that dude's a genius, so we had a great interview with him. Week after that, just last week, we had Ryan Steves. He's a big liberal insider. He was talking about his time with the Kathy Bennett campaign, and that was great. He's a really smart guy. Brendon in the peanut gallery over there wasn't asking you to speak, was just pointing out that you were for some reason. And I'm just joshing. And we also had Russell Cochran on last week, talking about journalism and the Muse. He's going to be the news editor next year. So thank you to all those people. Max and Brandon are not back yet, so I'm just gonna try to keep the masses entertained here. All these interviews that I'm just talking about, all of our guests that we had, you can check them out on our YouTube channel, Rustling Pages, Max and Chris. You can check out our Facebook and Twitter. God, this sounds like it's the end of the show. It's nowhere near the end of the show. What's up, Brendon? Come here. Hop on the mic. You might as well. You might as well. There's nothing. You need to be fully prepared to recuse yourself upon their return, though.
Just want to say, Ryan Steves is actually one of the incoming arts directors on MUNSU.
Yeah, that's true. You can check him out starting May 1st. He's an arts rep right now, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, no, he didn't get in on the by-election. He actually ran for something else. Yeah, something different.
Okay.
So bit of a change for him, like most people. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Ryan's a good dude. Yeah, Max and Brandon are back, so thanks, Dixon, for helping me out there for a minute.
No, love co-hosting.
Cool. Well, you're done. You're done, son. Hey, Brandon, nice to meet you.
How's it going?
Good.
Finally.
Max, I made it through the whole list without you. You'll just have to excuse us, Airwaves, because we're in a bit of a restructuring period right now for the next minute or so.
Coats more like it.
Yeah.
It's like so funny, right?
Yeah, big time.
All right, so we're sitting across from a beautiful, beautiful man, Radioland. We wish this was on video. I'm sitting with Brandon. Sitting with Brandon King. We met when he was going to MUN. Then he pursued education through MI and got a diploma in ROV technician.
Yeah.
And just graduated just found out your marks like a couple days ago?
Today, actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man.
How'd you do?
Pulled out an 80 average out of the semester. That's
Oh,
good.
there it is.
It's all right. I'll take
So is that it? Are you done now? You graduated?
I got a month of training. Gonna do some offshore training, safety things, BST. Other than that, we're good.
Yeah,
Nice.
and we met.
And a work term.
We met basically through some little affair I was involved in a couple of years ago, and we continued to. I had to keep running into this guy every time I went to a damn CFS event, and Brandon serves on his own board for MI. So thanks for coming on today, dude.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Brendon. And
thanks for
nice to meet you.
Good.
Yeah. So, I guess first up, like I said, this is the first time I'm meeting Brandon. So I really only know what I've heard from Max. And you know, Max, Max is he's really been playing you up. I feel like I was kind of getting into a lot of the same stuff that Max tells me you're into as far as politics goes. So I've been excited to meet you for a while now.
And so Brandon and I met through when I was kicking up shit about the Occupy Wall Street movement, and I was just a crazy idiot at that point walking around MUN, but yet he approached me. So why did you decide to do that?
Well, I mean, really, I'd heard about the Occupy movement, and a lot of the things that they were talking about initially were things that I had been listening to from people before, such as Michael Rupert and Aaron Russo, and there's a few other great guys. I'm not going to name them all off, but Michael Rupert's the most important guy, I think. Yeah, he died about 4 days ago, I think. Great man. Anyway, yeah, so I met Max, and I seen that he had a little Occupy NL flag, and I thought, okay, great. Let's go talk to these guys, let's just see what they're into. And I remember talking to him, and I don't remember exactly what it was Max said, but I think it was something about how he said we should raise taxes on the rich and lower taxes on the poor, and that's how we would solve the deficit. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was something like that, I think.
Yeah, my socialist angst.
Yeah, and then I think that was when I got into the topic. I said, well, Max, what is money? What is money? Why do we pay taxes to begin with?
I was confused about what you meant by something like that.
Right. And so, we started talking about the axis of evil as it is, as far as money goes. That is fiat currency, fractional reserve banking, and compound interest. Essentially it goes like this. If I'm the banker, you three guys in the room here, let's do it up. Max, I'm going to give you $10, all right? But I'm going to give it to you on interest. So you can print that money, and you can do whatever you want with it, but you got to pay me 11. But you can't. You can't do it. So you can take your $10 and you can do whatever you want with it. But at the end of the day, you say, oh, I can't get it. But that's okay, because I'm going to lend you another $10. And now you've got 19, and you only owe me, 2. That's not so bad. But it just keeps going and going and going. But you think you're getting more and more money. But really, what you're doing is you're deflating, your currency.
And we basically talked about how this system of perpetual kind of unaccounted for debt is kind of presupposes any problem I could manifest.
Well, yes, and that's really only half of it, because we finished the conversation then with saying, okay, well, what really is debt? And what it comes down to is when you create money, essentially what you're doing is you're creating a ticket for energy, more or less. It is energy that drives population growth. It's what gives us food, it's what gives us transportation, it's what gives us modern agricultural, fishing methods, space exploration, you name it. If we didn't have technology, we wouldn't have if we didn't have energy, we wouldn't have technology, we wouldn't have the population growth that we have now. So we need money to do these things as well. But it all comes from energy. So you can only print so much money as you have energy. That really is how it amounts to the way our current system is, because the growth, infinite growth paradigm is how Michael Rupert described it. And essentially what it means is that the way we're going, we need everything that's on the earth and more to keep this going, because of the nature of interest and the nature of the relationship between money and energy. They really are extremely interconnected, and I can't explain it as well as he can. And guys, I'm not going to lie, I didn't exactly do my homework before I came on. I had to work all day, I had to jam, I didn't have a whole lot of time.
I think we're talking about the somehow using finite resources.
Yeah.
Or using finite resources in the pursuit of kind of like infinite resources, and it's almost cyclical. It's like chicken and the egg.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The Earth has a carrying capacity. There are certain limitations through science. We got biology, carrying capacity of the Earth, and a lot of that has to do, and it's completely tied into the law of thermodynamics. And our money is the same way. It only goes up or down. Right,
So, Brandon, now how was it that you got so into? I mean, you said kind of some of your influences, but what? I guess kind of what was like almost like the seminal event that sort of really got you started on this whole path of, well, being like a kind of a genius about the stuff that you're talking about. I guess is sort of the
kind of like
direction
in
I'm going
the nurture aspect of how you were brought up and your environment around you. What would make you, out of any random person from where you're from, kind of take on this kind of subject matter and outlook?
You humbled me, and I'll quote Michael Rupert again. Don't put me up on a cross, asshole. We need the lumber. Okay. You know. But yeah, I think what really got me into this was I had been listening to this crazy radio conspiracy nut job. I actually I was on the internet, and it was on a forum, and they were making fun of this guy. They were calling into a show and prank calling him, and I was like, well, I'm not going to prank call him, but I'm going to listen to it. And he was talking about some stuff that was definitely wild and out there, but he was talking about how there was a big economic collapse coming this summer. This was in 2008.
Okay.
Right? Now, this was the spring of 2008, and he explained about, the derivatives bubble.
That's when we were like 16, 17, 18.
It was right before the recession is the idea.
Yeah, I guess so. I would have been around 17 then, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, 16, 17, and around then, that's when it all went down. And so I kind of said, okay, well, this crazy nut job might have been onto some things. So I kind of looked into what he was doing. And what I found at first was the information is extremely overwhelming. I mean, you can burn yourself out very easily looking into this stuff because it's so wild and out there. And the analogy I used to use was, and pardon my language on the radio, but you had to wade through the shit and pick out the nuggets of corn. And that was your information, because there's a lot of crap out there. There is. But there's some great stuff out there that's well backed up, that's researched, that has documentation. I mean, that's essentially what I'm saying. Something that's tangible and proof. I mean, government records, bank records, FBI records, evidence, public documents, court cases. These things are irrefutable evidence. And when they put them together in such a way to explain things like insider trading that, was known about by several, members of Congress, the Nicaraguan Contra gun scandal, and the cocaine that Gary Webb wrote about in his what was the name of that saga? I think it was a Dark Saga or something like that. Gary Webb wrote it. But, look it up. Again, I didn't do my homework, but...
No, that's all.
I think I'm getting off topic, but I mean, that's kind of what got me into it. And I started looking into all these things, and what I really learned was, and Michael Rupert got me onto it, is to get away from the crazy stuff and look on the people that can prove what they're saying. And what I found is really, money is the true essence of what a lot of people try to change in other ways, such as raising taxes on the rich to help feed the poor or whatever. But really, it comes down to energy, supporting population that is represented with paper currency.
And the reason why I like asking that question as to how you become something is because, like you say, it's an overwhelming amount of knowledge to take on, and for somebody who just wants to get their feet wet, how do they pursue this knowledge without being overwhelmed or being considered a martyr or being considered some kind of being alienated or outcasted? If it's something that's that important, it's commonly regarded, almost publicly regarded, as something that's almost a little bit too radical and out to lunch. So I think it's important to contextualize how somebody gets involved in it. And I mean, you are a crazy person, and you're unpredictable and wild, but can anybody kind of have access to this information, or do you need to be a little bit nuts?
No, not at all. I mean, the information is out there if you know where to look, or you have someone showing you. Max, you're guilty of it too. I mean, if you meet somebody that don't know what's up, you'll tell them what's up, and you'll tell them where to go to look it up. I'm calling you out on this, but it's important. I mean, if people usually ask me things, I'll just say straight up, do you want to read a book or do you want to watch the movie first?
Yeah.
And depending on what they say, I'll give them a book or I'll give them a movie. I mean, if I'm going to give them a book, I say, well, Crossing the Rubicon or Collapse by Michael Rupert. Start there. Just start there and look up his references and then go through those. Because, I mean, he's my favorite guy. All right, he's my, my Sidney Crosby. As far as we'll call him the Sidney Crosby, the conspiracy world, but it's definitely not conspiracy theory. It's conspiracy fact, if anything, because it's backed up stuff. You should read these books.
Cool.
He also has a documentary called Collapse that you can actually go up on Google Video. It'll show up right there. It's great.
We're going to put this in our YouTube links.
Yeah, we'll put all these things on in the YouTube links, these references. So
now Max got to put some in too.
All right, we'll do
Absolutely.
it. We'll do it.
Did you watch that Vice video with Mike Rupert? He's a 4-part series on Vice News. That's good shit.
No, I heard about it. I meant to watch it, and I haven't gotten around to it.
Well done.
Yeah, I bet it is.
All right, now, Brandon, one thing I want to ask you that we actually weren't necessarily planning on asking you, but we just kind of thought of it. There was this study that came out. You may have seen it, you may not have. If you haven't, then we'll just move on to something else. It was this, like a scientific study or whatever, that basically says that the U.S. government now is an oligarchy and not a democracy. Did you read that, and could you speak to it at all?
For our listeners, oligarchy meaning like controlled by money and power.
And the elite, a very structured,
kind of aristocratic or whatever.
Tiered elite system.
How shocked are you?
You know, I think it's important to deal with fact. That's for sure. I haven't read this study. I don't know.
Yeah, I shouldn't say I've read the study. I would almost go so far as to say I've only read the headline.
Okay. So, without commenting on a study that apparently probably only Max has read.
I don't know. Have you read the study, or have you read the article?
All I know is
about
that
the
two
study?
different people conducted the same study and found the same research.
Yeah, and I don't think that would surprise me, but I don't think the United States would be the only country where you could see that.
It's fair.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think the important thing to take away from this too is that, you know, the general acceptance among people is that there's nothing wrong with our system. There's nothing wrong with the way we live. Everything we do is fine. We get along just fine. We go to work. We get up, pay our bills, have a happy life, and retire. It's great. It is. But, you know, I mean, if you want to think about the long-term sustainability of your species, that's a different type of governance. And it's a different type of, it's a different paradigm. It really is, I think. It's one that we don't have right now, in my opinion.
So as far as governance concerned, let me just ask, for example, who was your candidate for the Virginia Waters election?
God.
Is that your district?
No, it's not. And maybe I shouldn't comment on it, but I was... I'm not going to comment on it.
And more implicitly, do you have a particular political affiliation yourself, or are you just?
No, I think I'm a political mutt. I mean, you know, I will support the idea more so than the party.
Yeah.
You know, and the other thing too is when it comes to money, I like how libertarians think. When it comes to social welfare, I tend to like how the New Democrats think, but then I like to combine it with how the libertarians think so you can actually pay for it. You know, so. Yeah, you know, I think there's a lot of people that are kind of like that too, basically, from what you get online and what you see in books that are being written by well-respected people. Aaron Russo said it best in his book, From Freedom to Fascism, which is a very radical-sounding title, but actually a very well-researched and very interesting documentary. And I recommend you look that up if you get a chance. But you know, he kind of put it best and said that, you know, these people aren't kooks. These are people that are up on their stuff and they've read it and they know it and they've spent their lives researching it and they don't have tinfoil hats and live in basements. And I think that's it's kind of a stereotype, and there's definitely those types out there. There's no doubt about it. But I don't, you know, I think when you start talking about these things, people are conditioned to automatically assume you're nuts.
I was just gonna say every
Yeah,
time you got to address that there's potentially a tinfoil hat crazy person out there, you gotta address it.
Yeah.
Dilutes your message.
Yeah, it's like I feel. I mean, I read The Fountainhead, and then I read Atlas Shrugged, Ayn Rand, and I was like, I love libertarianism, man. This is the greatest thing in the world. And I feel like I've chilled a little bit, but I still. It's kind of my favorite of the ideologies, but I feel like it gets a bad rap. I feel like a lot of people hear the word libertarian and they think of it almost as like a dirty word. So do you maybe want to clear up some of the misconceptions, give like a little, kind of like an overview
from your understanding
of it and your perspective on it?
Oh, this is going to sound like such a hippy-dippy answer. I think that the beauty of libertarianism is that really you can identify however you want to as a libertarian. I mean, you know, there's a lot of disagreement in libertarian forums and even libertarian parties about how to govern, usually. I mean, you know, generally it's an accepted fact that they want to maximize the personal liberty and freedom that a person has, but at the same time, you know, you just because you own a piece of land doesn't mean you can dump 20 gallons of oil in the ground and bury it over and say, what spill?
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, these are conflicts that need to be addressed. Like, yeah, you should have all the liberty you want. You should own the land. You should have the rights to it, but you should also have the respect for it. And I think that's, again, it comes to paradigm. It comes to how, you know, we think about the earth and how we think about ourselves on it, and see ourselves more as guests instead of masters, because, you know, this is our house. You know, you can't just chip away at the walls and expect the roof to stay up. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, in many respects, especially in, you know, in rainforest areas, and that's as far as I'll go with it.
And can you give us some examples of, I mean, you talked about how you can, that you take on a bunch of different ideologies, and I think a dominant the dominant ideology when you and I talk anyways, maybe it's just because you're humoring me, is we talk a lot about libertarianism. But at the same time, another thing that you and I talk about particularly a lot is post-secondary education and public education. And I wonder how that ties into your kind of conception of governance and what role governance has in public education.
Yeah, I know, and this is where I may defer on many areas, but, you know, I firmly believe that education, and this has been studied and it's been researched, Max, you're well aware of the same studies that I've read, you know, it is an investment that sees return on profit. Even when programs might not necessarily see a return on profit on certain degrees, overall the system does see a return on profit. We quote that study that was done on College of North Atlantic. They, you know, every dollar they put in, provincial government seeing $11.50 return over 5 years. That's huge. Yeah, that's huge. There's no reason you should pay tuition if that's what you're going to get back.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a worthwhile investment for the government to make.
The whole province benefits from it because, I mean, you got to remember the province has the power of taxation. If they're the ones that want to levy the tax against, you know, any kind of labor or earnings or income or whatever the case may be, we won't get into the legal and lawful stuff, but essentially the money that they're going to get from people that have better education and better jobs is way better than having them not be, not afford to go to school, you know, being a, you know, I won't say being a burden, but you know, definitely increasing the load on EI and other social assistance programs from people that just don't have the work because they don't have the education, don't have the skills. I mean, you know, I come from a pretty small town. There's a lot of people that I know of that they're mechanics. They don't have their papers. I mean, they can fix anything. They can fix a lot of cars. They can do a lot of work. It'd be really easy for them to go into school and get their papers. They can't afford it. Right. You know, and that's a problem, I think. Yeah, definitely. Because you know, here, you know, you got people working at gas stations for $12 an hour or $10 an hour, and they could be out working at a garage somewhere. They just can't afford to go to school to get it done, even though they're capable of doing the work. You know? Right.
Definitely. That's a really interesting take on it for sure. So Max, what else do we want to ask Brandon before we take our extremely late second break?
Oh yeah, we were supposed to take
a break about 20 minutes ago.
Oh yeah, this is like scheduled, like the radio needs you, like it requires you to take these like scheduled 10-20 minute increments.
Sounds like Weekend of Skills.
But we libertarian up in here.
Yeah.
We do our
we're exercising our freedoms.
It's our time. We'll do what we like with it.
We're keeping it thematic.
By not this is a good example here. By not going to commercial break, are we being legal or lawful or unlawful or illegal?
We're being against the rules of CHMR and the requirements.
Well, actually, it would be illegal because CHMR, I would imagine, is registered as a corporation, and if you're registered as a corporation, then you are fully subject to all legislation, statutes, and what we would call the law, but that would be, you know, legislation.
Well, then that sounds
Should
like
we go to break?
We better take our break,
and then we'll come back and say hi to Brendon just for like another 2 minutes, and then go to our last.
And then we'll kind of say the rest of our thank yous
and final farewells
to
our
final
loyal
farewells
for our listeners
for the summer. So
very loyal.
Settle down out there. You're crazy.
Stop cursing at me through your radio.
Tune back in a minute. Big Brothers Big Sisters is hiring a full-time teen mentoring / match support coordinator. Must have a minimum 2-year post-secondary diploma or coursework in education, social or human services, child and youth work, or a related field. Send a resume, cover letter, and references to the Executive Director, Big Brothers Big Sisters, the Village Shopping Center, Box 10, 430 Topsail Road, St. John's, Newfoundland, A1E 4N1. The deadline to apply is April 25th, 2014.
Now available online, providing MP3 stream or real audio at www.chmr.ca. You're tuned to MUN Radio, CHMR 93.5 FM, your only music alternative.
And we're back. on Wrestling Pages with Max and Chris and Brandon King.
Sorry for the suspense. We finally got that on the air.
It's fine. It keeps it fresh.
So we're still here with Mr. King. We're going to ask you another question or two, just kind of open-ended stuff. And then we're going to go to our last 5 minutes, because this show is about us, not you guys.
Yeah, we've been a little too heavy on the outsiders lately. Used to be just us. We've been about 10 minutes talking to people that aren't us, and now it's all about them, and I think something needs to change.
Here's my question to you on the spot. A lot of people get to listen to this question beforehand and think of something, but if you knew that if for some reason you had a voice that could reach every single person in this entire world right now, you had an opportunity to say like a sentence or two to these people, a message that you want to get across to everyone in the entire world, what would you tell them?
Do unto others. Straight up, do unto others as you would have done unto you, man. Golden rule. That is probably the most important thing you could tell the whole world at one time. I mean,
and it's been time tested.
What else could you say to that? I guess I don't know.
It is time tested.
You know what? And that's a pretty kind of not profound answer, because it's been said before. But I mean, it's that phrase exists. But you're the first person to say it on our show, and you first answer that question that way, and I really like that.
Actually. Yeah, no, I like that too. It's an oldie but a goodie. They're classics for a reason. Because they hold the test of time.
Yeah, and if I had one message, I'd say, take responsibility for yourself. Are you a maker or a taker? That's what I say.
Yeah, is it?
What would you say, Chris?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd say something like, life is what you make it. You should take, not in such a cynical way as you would say it, but life is what you make it. Your life is what you make it. You do that.
If life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Or if life doesn't give you lemons to make lemonade, then earn some lemons and make some lemonade.
Yeah.
Get your lemons. Don't wait for life to give you the lemons. Get your lemons.
You get yours.
You get your lemons, people of the world.
So, if you have any feedback for Wrestling Pages, 93.5 CHMR-FM, please contact us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or through...
We don't have Instagram, that's a lie.
And an email.
Yep, wrestlingpages@gmail.com. That is our email.
And don't all come comment at once.
Yeah.
It's hard for us to get to all of your answers every week, but we try our damnedest.
Yeah, we do. Well, no, we don't get questions.
Ever.
But if we did, we would respond to them all the time. So, I don't know, are we going to do our little goodbyes now? Are we going to say thank you to Brandon?
Goodbye. Or do you mean goodbyes to the radio station?
I mean we're gonna say things and then the show is gonna end.
Okay. So Brandon, thanks for coming. Let's actually give Brandon a last word here.
Yeah, Brandon, you
get your last word.
Your last word.
Because we kind of just got all self-indulged there, and you're still on the air with us. So Brandon came on the show to talk about what are we talking about?
Personal freedom, personal responsibility,
and being my old homie, and just because he graduated, this is a little graduation celebration. It's better than any convocation Mun could ever put out for you.
Raise the roof. Roof is on fire.
So, Brandon, thanks for coming on the show. And is there anything that you want to plug or capture before we go our separate ways?
I really don't think so. I think we pretty much touched on a lot of things, but this is a topic that is, can't be condensed into a 20-minute conversation from one guy on a radio show at a university.
True.
It is a very, very huge, complicated topic, and if I said I was an expert, I'd be lying to you. There's a lot I got to learn. There's a lot I got to read up on. There's a lot of stuff I still, want to finish looking into, but I think the most part, just live your life, keep calm. A lot of people say keep calm, carry on. Well, do it. When the lights go out, do it, because they're going to go out again. It's going to happen. Just be prepared, live your life, be happy. That's it, man. Peace, love, freedom.
I like that.
Awesome. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Brandon.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.
Cool. I'm going to turn off that one now. All right, so this is it. We've been doing this show for, what, two or 3 months now. It's been a blast. I've had a lot of fun.
I learned a lot. I mean, it's a great opportunity for anybody who wants to come out there. I'll say just one more time, we heard a rumor that you could start a radio show at MUN. You can do it for free as an undergrad, for free. You do 3 hours of training, and then you get...
Then you do it. And then you sign up for time slot.
And then you can be as cool as us.
No, it is it is a lot of fun though, and it is a great opportunity, and it's a super cool skill set that I mean, you know, dealing with this. dealing with the soundboard and everything. I mean, it's not you know, it's not a super transferable skill or anything, but I mean, I wouldn't no, I mean, it's transferable to other soundboards and other situations, but I mean, I'm glad that it's something that I can now do, and it's cool. It's, you know, it's the little things too. It's as cool as it is to be such a famous celebrity public personality, as you know, has become both our blessing and our curse in the last few months.
Yeah, we didn't see it coming. We just wanted to share our art with the world, and little did we know we've just become another commodity.
We have
on CHMR
81 entire likes on Facebook. We're reaching the masses.
81 entire, and
are you? And
that's time for our special celebration.
We got over 500 views on YouTube.
500 views on YouTube. Can I plug in my sound? Maybe we could do our song. 500 views. Read them and weep, people. Here's to 500 more.
Yeah. No, here's to 500,000 more.
That's high. Big break.
That's high. All right, so
speaking of which, it's time for us to end the show.
Yeah, I guess that we'll call that the end. I feel like that's the most talking we've done, not to another human besides ourselves, in months and months and months on the show. All right, so thank you. We'll be back in the fall, and good night.
Woo!